Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. There's a certain kind of woman out there. Maybe it's you. The one who don't follow the crowd, who don't beg for attention, who don't need noise to feel important. Nah, she's walking alone. And not because she has to, but because she chooses to. See, when a woman starts walking alone, when she starts focusing inward, that's when something shifts. That's when the real work begins. That's when God says, now you're ready. You think silence is empty? No. Silence is full of answers, full of direction, full of power. When the world gets quiet, that's when God gets loud. That's when he starts to move things behind the curtain, behind the scenes. He's setting you up for something greater than they can see. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You were born with light in you. All that drama, all that distraction, all those people that left, let them go. Don't chase what God is already removing. Don't fight the solitude. Embrace it. Because in that solitude, that's where he's sculpting the woman you're becoming. Strong, focused, unshakable. You don't need validation. You don't need a stage. You don't need a title. You got something better. You got favor. You got peace. And when you got peace, that's priceless. That's power. Remember, you're not. Because when you're focused within, when you're aligned with God, you got the full force of heaven walking with you. You're not just walking, you're rising. It's not learned in textbooks, not granted by applause, and certainly not defined by how others see you. This kind of strength, it's divine. It's woven into the very fabric of your being, and it reveals itself not when life is easy, but when the world goes quiet, when the room is empty, when your heart is heavy, and still you keep going. There's something sacred about that. When a woman chooses to rise without a crowd, to heal without an audience, to trust God even when the path makes no sense, that's when her inner strength becomes visible. Not flashy, not loud, but steady, calm, unbreakable. The world may call it resilience, determination, or grit, but deep down, you know it's more than that. It's God. It's his breath in your lungs, his hand holding yours, his whisper in your spirit telling you you were made for this. Inner strength doesn't mean you never feel weak. It means you know where your power comes from. You know that even when you're on your knees, you're not defeated. You're being refined. And when you rise again, it's not with bitterness or blame. It's with grace. It's with faith. It's with the quiet confidence of a woman who knows she is covered, chosen, and carried. So every time you feel like giving up, remember who put that fire in you. Remember the battles you've already walked through. Remember the tears that turned into growth, the silence that turned into clarity, the solitude that birthed strength. That's not random. That's not luck. That's God working through you, building you from the inside out. Walking alone isn't lonely. It's liberating. It's a choice, not a punishment. There's power in stepping away from the noise, the expectations, the crowd, and saying, I need space to grow. When a woman walks alone, she's not lost. She's searching deeper. She's not unloved. She's loving herself enough to not settle for less than she deserves. It's not loneliness, it's alignment, it's peace. It's a sacred kind of solitude where distractions fall away and the truth of who she is begins to rise. Some people are terrified of being alone because they've confused company with connection. But when you walk alone with purpose, you learn that your own soul is good company. You start to hear things you missed when life was too loud, like your own thoughts, your own voice, and more importantly, God's voice. He speaks clearly in the stillness. In the quiet, he shows you who you really are, who you're not, and who you're becoming. There's no shame in taking a different path, even if you have to take it by yourself. Because some roads are too sacred to be shared. Some journeys are tailor-made for your feet only. And sometimes separation is necessary for elevation. Being alone gives you the space to heal without pretending, to dream without limitation, and to move without asking for permission. It's not empty, it's intentional. And yes, it can feel uncomfortable at first. The silence can feel loud, the nights long, the room too quiet. But in that space, you're not just surviving, you're transforming. You're learning how to depend on your spirit, how to lean into faith, and how to stand tall without anyone holding you up. That's not loneliness. That's growth. That's a woman walking with purpose on a path lit by God himself. The world is loud. Everyone's got an opinion, a direction, a timeline, a voice telling you what you should be doing, where you should be, who you should become. But clarity doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. When you shut out the noise and turn inward, that's when things start to make sense. Not all at once, but piece by piece. You begin to hear your own voice again, feel your own rhythm, and recognize what truly matters to you. Now what they told you should matter. Now what they told you should matter. Focusing within doesn't mean you're ignoring the world. It means you're learning to stop being controlled by it. You're tuning into something deeper, something wiser, something divine. That still, small voice inside you, that's not just your gut. It's God's whisper. It's the echo of truth, gently guiding you back to your purpose, your peace. The more you listen, the clearer the path becomes. We spend so much time trying to fix everything out there, when the real answers are buried in here, inside, where the healing starts, where the growth happens, where your identity isn't shaped by circumstances, but by conviction. Clarity doesn't come from asking everyone else. It comes from trusting that you already carry what you need to know. You don't have to chase wisdom when you're aligned with the source of it. Sometimes the confusion you feel isn't from a lack of direction. It's from being too disconnected from yourself. So, when everything feels blurry, when your heart is heavy, when your mind is clouded, don't run outward. Go inward. Get still. Pray. Breathe. Reflect. The answers don't shout, they reveal themselves in the quiet. In the moment you return to yourself, you return to God. That's when the fog lifts. That's when you see clearly. Solitude has a way of stripping away the distractions that keep you from hearing your own calling. When you're alone, truly alone, you come face to face with the deepest parts of yourself. Your fears, your dreams, your regrets, your desires. And it's in that quiet space, that uncomfortable yet sacred stillness, where purpose begins to rise. Not forced, not fabricated, but revealed. Solitude is where you meet yourself without the masks, without the roles, without the pressure to perform. It's where you begin to understand who you really are and why you're here. Purpose doesn't always show up in big, bold declarations. Sometimes it whispers in the silence. Sometimes it takes root in the slow, quiet days when no one's watching and nothing seems to be happening. But something is happening. You're being refined. You're being prepared. You're being strengthened. The world teaches us to stay busy, stay visible, stay connected. But God often calls us into solitude to shape what can't be shaped in the spotlight. In solitude, you start to separate what's true from what's just noise. You realize which desires are yours and which were inherited from people who never understood your journey. You learn to trust your own spirit and hear God's direction without 1,000 other voices drowning it out. It's where you stop running from yourself and start walking toward your assignment. You don't find purpose in the crowd. You find it when the crowd is gone and all that's left is you and your Creator. That's when clarity comes. That's when the work begins. Not the outer work, but the inner transformation that leads to everything else. Solitude isn't empty. It's full of potential, full of answers, full of divine preparation for the life you're meant to live. Silence can be unsettling at first. We're so used to filling every moment with noise, music, conversations, scrolling, something to distract us from what's going on inside. But the silence isn't something to fear. It's something to honor. Because in that silence, everything real begins to rise. It's in the quiet moments that your heart finally gets a chance to speak, your soul gets room to breathe, and God's voice can come through loud and clear. We often confuse silence with emptiness, but the truth is, silence is full of answers, full of healing, full of truth. You don't always need more input. Sometimes you just need space. Space to process, space to grieve, space to dream, space to hear what's been trying to reach you all along. The silence doesn't come to punish you. It comes to teach you, to clear the clutter, to slow you down long enough for you to truly see what's real and what's not. There's strength in stillness. When you stop running from the silence, you start confronting the parts of you that need attention, need love, need God. That's where the breakthrough happens. That's where transformation begins. Not in the chaos, but in the calm. Louder than fear. You don't have to fill every space with sound to prove you're alive. You don't need constant movement to be making progress. Sometimes the most powerful shifts happen in the quiet. So don't fear the silence. Step into it. Let it guide you, stretch you, heal you. Just be God preparing your next step. We live in a world that pressures us to move fast, to have it all figured out, to meet deadlines and expectations set by others. Everyone is in a rush, pushing you to go faster, to chase success, to keep up with the pace of the world. But divine timing doesn't operate on the world's clock. It doesn't bow to deadlines or comparisons. It flows in its own rhythm. And when you align yourself with it, exactly the right time, Eternal pressure often makes us feel like we're falling behind, like we're missing something or not doing enough. We look around and see others achieving their goals, stepping into their purpose, and we think, why isn't it happening for me? But what you must understand is that God has his own plan, one that is uniquely yours. His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't look like it. What may seem like a delay is actually a divine preparation. It's the space where your character is being shaped, where your faith is being strengthened, and where your purpose is being refined. When you try to rush ahead, when you chase after what the world tells you to chase, you're often moving out of alignment with the bigger picture God has for you. The right opportunities, the right people, the right circumstances, they come at the time God knows you're ready to receive them. And when they do, you won't just be prepared, you'll be able to handle them with grace, wisdom, and strength. So, let go of the pressure to keep up with others. Trust in the process. Trust that your path is unfolding exactly as it should. Divine timing doesn't hurry. It's intentional. It's perfect. And when it arrives, you'll know it was worth the wait. Self-discovery is not just an intellectual pursuit or a personal goal. It's a spiritual journey. It's a path that takes you deep into the soul, where the answers aren't always clear and the road isn't always straight. But in the depths of that journey, you find your truest self. Not defined by the roles others want you to play or the expectations the world has placed on you, but by the divine essence within you. It's where your spirit gets to meet your purpose, where your heart aligns with God's will, and where the real transformation begins. This journey isn't a quick fix or a simple checklist. It's not about instant gratification or surface level accomplishments. It's about peeling back the layers, letting go of the things you thought you knew, and being willing to look at yourself with complete honesty. The process is often uncomfortable. You'll face parts of yourself that are hard to confront. You'll encounter your insecurities, your doubts, and your fears. But you'll also discover strength, resilience, and a divine calling that has been there all along, waiting for you to recognize it. Self-discovery is an act of surrender, of letting go of control and allowing God to reveal who you are in His eyes. It's about trusting that you don't have to have it all figured out right now. There's grace in the journey. Each step, each mistake, each moment of clarity brings you closer to the person you were meant to be. It's a journey that requires patience, faith, and an openness to change. It's spiritual because it connects you to something much bigger than yourself, your creator, your purpose, and the divine plan He has designed for you. Isolation often feels like rejection, but it's not. It's redirection. When you find yourself alone, when the crowd fades away, or when you feel cut off from the people and things that once felt familiar, it can hurt. It can make you question your worth, your place, and your purpose. But isolation isn't a sign that you're being pushed away. It's a signal that you're being prepared for something greater, something more aligned with your true calling. It's God's way of guiding you into a season of growth, of transformation, of deepening your faith. Maybe it's when you've been the most isolated. Maybe it's when you've experienced setbacks, losses, or moments of uncertainty. In those times, it may have felt like the world was turning its back on you. But what you didn't see then was that those moments of solitude were not about being abandoned. They were about being set apart. Sometimes God has to separate you from what's familiar so that you can grow beyond it. Sometimes the crowd is too noisy, too distracting, too limiting. You needed space to hear his voice, to understand the purpose he's placed in your heart, and to find strength in your own identity. Isolation is a necessary pause. It's where you go inward, where you reflect, where you recalibrate. It's in the quiet that you discover what really matters and what doesn't. You start shedding the things that don't serve you, the relationships that drain you, the fears that limit you. You emerge from isolation not weaker, but stronger. Not confused, but clear. Not lost, but found. Because isolation isn't rejection, it's redirection. Is the path that leads you back to the true purpose God has set before you. There are moments when you might feel alone, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and no one truly understands what you're going through. But here's the truth. You're never really alone when you're aligned with God's purpose for your life. Alignment with your true calling, with your faith, and with your inner self brings a peace that transcends circumstances. It connects you to something much greater than the isolation that sometimes creeps in. When you're aligned, you're connected to God's strength, his guidance, his wisdom, and his love. Even if no one else walks with you, you have the assurance that God is by your side every step of the way. Alignment isn't about having all the answers or knowing the exact path. It's about trusting that you're on the right one, that you're walking with purpose, and that every step you take is supported by something bigger than yourself. That is where the power lies. In moments of doubt, you can find comfort in knowing that you're not navigating this journey alone. You are aligned with a divine purpose that is unfolding just as it should. When you're aligned, you don't need the validation of others. You don't need constant reassurance. You trust your own direction because you know it's rooted in something solid. Your faith, your truth, and your higher calling. You become less afraid of being misunderstood or walking a path that others don't understand, because you know that alignment isn't about fitting in with the crowd. It's about being true to yourself and true to God's plan for you. And when you are aligned, you are always supported by the divine force that guides you, lifting you up even when the world seems empty. You're never alone when you're aligned. You're always walking with purpose. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. In a world that thrives on validation, likes, and constant comparison, it's easy to get caught up in the belief that your worth is defined by what you do or how others perceive you. But the truth is, your value is already established. You were created with purpose, designed with intention, and loved unconditionally by God. There's nothing you need to do to earn that love, to prove that you matter, or to show that you're enough. You already are. Too often, we chase after approval, striving to meet the expectations set by others or by society. We push ourselves beyond our limits, trying to prove our worth through accomplishments, titles, or external recognition. But no matter how much we achieve or how many accolades we receive, it never seems to be enough. That's because the validation we seek from others is fleeting. It's based on the temporary, the external. But your worth, it's eternal. It's built into your very being. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you can start living in your truth. You can embrace who you are without the need to explain it to anyone. You can rest in the certainty that you don't need to chase after validation. You're already valuable. The right people will see you for who you are and love you for it. not for the things you do or the titles you hold. You are chosen, you are enough, and you don't need anyone's approval to walk in the fullness of your purpose. So let go of the need to prove yourself. Trust in the fact that you're already whole, just as you are. Elevation requires separation. Growth and progress are often uncomfortable because they demand a shift, a step away from what's familiar, what's comfortable, and sometimes what's holding you back. You cannot reach higher levels while clinging to things that no longer serve your purpose. People who don't align with your vision, or habits that keep you grounded in mediocrity. Elevation isn't about staying in the same place and hoping things change. It's about separating yourself from what weighs you down, what limits you, and what keeps you stuck. The process of separation might feel lonely or even painful at times. You may have to let go of relationships that once felt essential, habits that were once comforting, or environments that seemed secure. But the truth is, those things were never meant to take you to the next level. The very act of stepping away from them clears the space for something better to enter your life, something that aligns with the future you're stepping into. God often pulls you away from the crowd to prepare you for the purpose He's called you to. In those quiet moments of separation, you find clarity, strength, and the ability to hear God's direction more clearly. Separation doesn't mean rejection. It's preparation. It's the space where your spirit is refined, where your character is strengthened, and where your vision is sharpened. It's in that space where you grow, not just in your skills, but in your faith. When you embrace the separation, you start to understand that elevation isn't just about getting higher. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be.